Howdy YouTube, Unky Joe here. Unky Joe's Playhouse. I wish I was here. This is, let me get it up here. Yeah, turn it that way. That's where I wish I was right now, Port Aransas, Texas. You know, it's been 2 years since we took a vacation. Between my mom living here and the dogs, it's hard to get somebody who can babysit all of them while we disappear for 2 or 3 days down to the coast. But it's going to happen again this year, I promise you. Today we're going to talk about antivirus and anti-malware software, one of my favorite fricking topics of all time, especially with WannaCry being out there, the hysteria around it, and rightly so. There is a lot of hysteria. I think ransomware is some of the most evil, convoluted bullshit on the internet right now, and most people are just at the mercy of these folks because, you know, let's be honest, people don't back up. Most people don't. My sister, my brother, they don't have backups of any of their stuff. Hell, they don't even know where half of it resides on their hard drives. They don't have a clue. And you can't, you know, sometimes people just don't want to be educated. And the other misnomer is that antivirus and anti-malware give you rock solid protection. They don't. They have to be used properly along with good browsing habits. So I find what's easier to do with my clients is to teach them good behavior. So we have, whenever we take over a new client, we always start with an introductory meeting. I gotta take a sip of coffee because this is such damn good coffee. You ever had 8 o'clock coffee? Their roast? Oh, I just love it. I love it. I don't like Starbucks anymore. I have a Starbucks coffee, but I don't ever buy their coffee. I've had people buy me their coffee, but I just don't like their political positions. I think companies should stay out of politics. Anyway, I digress. So let's talk about antivirus and anti-malware. I came across a piece of software over the last few days because of this WannaCry coming up. The big issue was I want to make sure, I have clients that use USB keys, and I want to make sure whenever they put a USB into their computer, it prompts them to scan and to check it and, you know, make sure we don't have files coming in from the outside world that could infect their machine. So I went back to my old, I initially started with Trend Micro years ago. That has been 10 years since I used them. They had a really wonderful package for businesses. It wasn't that expensive. It was like $500 or $600 a year. And it did a good job. And then slowly they bloated the code on it. They tried to become all things to all people. A firewall, an antivirus, this, that, the other. Oh, it's great. It's wonderful. Price didn't go up, but the speed of the program went down. It slowed down computers unnecessarily, and that's why I'm not a big fan, or wasn't a big fan, of antivirus software. You're going to see on this software that I'm about to show you, this Kaspersky, we don't have that problem. It's complete, it's thorough, it gets in, you install it, it gets out of the way, and it lets people use their computers. So enough of me talking and ranting. Let's get on to the video where I show you the pretty screens and how to install it. I'm going to be doing everything on one of my Windows 10 virtual machines, so you can follow along if you want to as well. So here we go. Alright, so here we are at the Windows 10 Enterprise 64-bit Lab Station 1, and we're going to use Landsweeper to get into this. We're going to do a remote desktop. Now you're not going to see what I'm seeing on the login screen, but suffice it to say, it's going to log me in and bring me up to the virtual machine interface here. Alrighty, so what I'm going to do is take you through an installation and configuration of Kaspersky, the Kaspersky for the small business, because that's what I am. That's what my clients typically are small businesses. So here we are at the virtual machine, and we're going to walk through an install of the Kaspersky for the small business. So I'm just going to go to File Explorer and come here to my Z drive, and I've got Kaspersky out here, and it's Kaspersky Office 17.0.0.611 that I downloaded the other day. So we'll just double click on that and we'll start an install. Now what I really love about this package is that, and you'll see as we move along, it really does not slow down this machine very much. I'm going to click on the continue button. I'm going to accept their agreement. Now, part of antivirus and anti-malware installation is implied sharing of data. That agreement you just saw me click on basically said that Kaspersky is going to monitor your activity. Yes, please. It's going to monitor your activity on the web. It's going to monitor your email. It's going to monitor all those things. And it's going to look for patterns, and it's going to share that information with Kaspersky engineers so that they can determine whether or not there's any malicious software on your system. Now, if you're using a piece of software to turn on to activate your Windows illegally, or any shadow software out there that you're not quite sure of of whether it's legit or not, anytime you install an antivirus or anti-malware software, it's going to find those things, and it's going to ask you if you want to disable or delete them. So this is one of the problems with using like keygens and that kind of thing. You take your chances when you put this stuff on your PC, especially the keygens for Office and for Windows, because they basically install themselves on a part of the hard drive that gets loaded before it boots into the operating system. That's why UEFI was created, was to prevent that kind of malicious code that they're also called bootloaders, from loading on your computer. And one of the key things about activating Windows and Office is this, it's called Auto KMS. Now, most of the time it's safe to run that program, but if you get it from a safe site or a safe person, but man, you are really taking your chances if you load that kind of thing on your computer. It's just so much easier to either buy a license for Windows 10 or Office, or do their Office 365, which is like $5 or $10 a month for 5 users. You'd be a fool not to be using legal software in this day and age. You're just asking for an infection. And for those of you that do a lab like I do, if you're running a small business or doing research, it costs money. I spend about $500 a year on Microsoft products. I get 10 copies of Windows 10, I get 10 copies of this, 10 copies of that. I get their operating system, all for $500 a year. That's less than $50 a month. So get legal, because if you don't, you're going to have issues, and you run the risk of getting an infection. Now, in a corporate environment, I always recommend running a good quality antivirus software and anti-malware software, and the reasons for that are many, as we will see as we delve into this interface with Kaspersky. So the protection is loading. It's going to go out and tell us, hey, this is a trial version, do you want to activate it, etc. And then we'll walk through some of the settings you need to do initially. So right now it says, do we want to enable protection against ads to install only desired software and block additional installations? So we'll tell it yes. Now, one thing it's going to do down here is Windows Firewall and Kaspersky Small Office Security are both turned off, tap or click. Don't worry about that right now. Also, don't worry about your activation code. You're gonna activate a trial version of the activation. Now, I am going to give you a warning. If you're doing this remotely, off-site, and you're coming in through RDP, the minute you do that, you're going to disable your connection. You have to be on the same network, the same subnet, as the machine you're installing Kaspersky on if you're going to do it remotely. Otherwise, it will block you out. And then you're presented with this little interface right here, and basically it tells you what you need to do. So right now it's telling us there is a database update that is required. So we're going to click on that, and we're going to go ahead and run the update, and we'll let that update run, and then we'll come back. All right, I'm going to make some while this is loading an update, I'm going to make some generalized statements about people, and I don't mean them to be cruel. I don't mean them to be judgmental or anything like that. They're just true statements, and I run into this all the time. Like I said, I've been in the IT business nearly 30 years, and when you're dealing with people, you're also dealing with egos. Not only male egos, but females have egos too. So people, one, don't like to admit when they screw something up. That's just human nature. So as an IT guy, you're going to find that you trust your log files more than you trust what people tell you. I can't tell you the number of times I've had people tell me, I've asked them point blank, did you click on the link? Oh no, I didn't do anything. And then you go back and you find out they did click the link, or somebody who impersonated them sat at their computer and clicked the link. So people basically we're all grown-up children. We lie to cover our butts. And maybe it's my presentation that gets people a little scared. But, I believe in, if you click the button, you should own up to it. So you can't trust people to always be as honest with you as you would like them to be. This is why I pretty much insist that any client I have that runs a small business they spend the money on a good antivirus software and anti-malware software. By good, I mean it doesn't slow the system down, yet it adds an extra layer of protection against those users that think they're know-it-alls. I had a lady about a year ago at one of my clients, and she thought she knew better than me, the IT guy. In fact, she even made the statement that she thought she was more qualified than I was. And she opened an email on her machine one day, and it had a macro attached to it. And by default, Office has disabled macros because they're a security risk. And she had peered over my shoulder one day, and evidently had memorized not the master admin password, but a admin password, or had seen one of the other admins on the network enter it. And she took it upon herself to go ahead, because we set up all our users with basic rights. They don't have administrative rights. So she took it upon herself to know better than the IT department. Instead of, we have this policy, stop, drop, and call the IT guys. She went ahead and clicked the button. And of course, she got the CryptoLocker virus on her machine and lost about, I'd say 10 or 15 years worth of data that was just suddenly encrypted and we could no longer access anymore. Fortunately, we had archival updates of that, or backups of that. This is why backups are very important. And, she denied she did it. I finally got proof through the log files that she indeed had done it, or someone who sat at her desk. And then she hem-hawed around and said, well, somebody else must have impersonated me. And we reminded her in the company policy that the privacy of that password she was assigned was her responsibility, and that she had failed to do that. She was terminated because the evidence was just simply outstanding. But this is what can happen when you get one user on your network that thinks they know better than the professionals. It's like doing your own plumbing or doing your own electrical. 9 times out of 10 you'll be fine, but there's that one time that you're going to flood your house with water or you're going to electrocute your dog, and you can't go back from that. So I tell people, we're the professionals, what you hire us for. Let us do our job. So basically, this antivirus software is just protecting the user from themselves. Because here's the justification. I was in a hurry. I have a deadline. I needed this done right away. And my favorite, the help desk doesn't respond fast enough. I typically respond to any help desk request within less than an hour. But for some people that have these artificial deadlines looming over their heads, that's not fast enough, or they don't like the answer they get, or you as an IT director, you ask for more information from the client and they don't want to be bothered to give it. I don't know, it's just broken, it doesn't work. Well, can you send me a screenshot? No, I can't. I don't have time to send you a screenshot. Can you take a picture with your phone? No, I can't take a picture with my phone and send it. A lot of times you get people that don't really want to help resolve the problem. They just want you to wave a magic wand and fix it. So that's what this software is for, is to protect me and the networks that I manage from idiots, from morons. What's that line out of Blazing Saddles where the guy comes in from being called the N-word, and he comes in and what's his name is trying to comfort him, trying to comfort the black sheriff, and he goes, these people are the salt of the earth. They work with their hands. Morons. So that's the thing I use when I deal with clients sometimes. Is you got to protect the morons from themselves, because No matter no matter what you tell these people, they're never going to own up and to their mistakes and be adults about it. They're always looking to blame somebody else, and of course, the IT guy gets the blame. So cover your ass, load antivirus software in your network environment, and just so it's not going to prevent everything, but at least it'll pretty much protect the idiots from themselves. So, all right, so the update was done. Now it would have run automatically, but I just went ahead and manually did it. So I'm going to take you around through some of the stuff on here. Some of the stuff I'm going to ignore. So right now it's telling me my computer is protected. Let's do one other thing here. Let's bring up the task manager. Now this is a Windows virtual machine running Windows 10, and I think I've given it 4 gig of memory, and I just want to see what kind of impact that it has on the virtual machine. I've given it a single CPU. Yeah, I've given it a single CPU and 4 gig of RAM. So the RAM utilization is right about 1.6 gig, and you can see the processes that are consuming the most CPU and the most disk right now. So we'll just let that run while we go play around with Kaspersky. Now this is their Small Office Security 5 for the personal computer. So the way their licensing works is, let me get this up here. So if you have a small network, say 5 users with 1 file server plus 5 mobile devices, it's $112.49 per year. Auto renews. Now keep in mind this is an introductory pricing for new customers, and after that it's probably going to go up to $149.99. Most of my customers lie in this range right here, 30 to 35 users. So still, you're talking about less than $50 a month, or about $50 a month, to protect 30 users plus 3 file servers plus 30 mobile devices. Not a bad deal at all. If you go out to 2 years or 3 years, you get an even bigger discount, and you get peace of mind for 3 years. All right, so that gives you an idea of the pricing that Kaspersky does. So it's not an unreasonable price at all. And you can see our CPU usage is settling down. Now I've got no other applications running, so if I click here on details, it'll tell you your trial version of the application is installed, no active threats, databases are up to date, main protection components. So it has, you can do what are called backup copies of your sensitive files, and you can even encrypt those files so that they're not subject to any kind of crypto locker virus. That is a really neat feature that gives you really good peace of mind, and it's just a good way to protect the end user. Now in a corporate environment, I don't know what a good idea that is, but you see by default it grabs all files from my documents and the desktop, and then creates a backup copy of them. You could also include the pictures, videos, and music files, and or you could do your own backup copy from specific folders. As a really neat function built into that. Okay, Kaspersky Protection Extension is not installed in Internet Explorer, so I'm going to go ahead and install that as well, and it's done it. So when we first launch Internet Explorer, it's going to come up and tell us that's been loaded. Kaspersky Password Manager. So if you're like me, I use LastPass Password Manager, but I've been having some trouble lately with LastPass, so I'm going to look into this Password Manager. There's a Learn More feature on it here, and you can download and install it, and it'll go and it'll remember your passwords for you. I'm assuming that it is that it will allow you that it encrypts that data, and none of that master password is stored anywhere unencrypted. And then web policy management settings. You can go out and you can set up the policies for the web. So let's go back here. So I can do a scan. I've already done the database update. Safe money. When you make a purchase on the internet, criminals can access your credit card. Don't let that happen. We can enable that. I'm going to skip it. And you can add your websites to save money. Okay. Your management console, you have to you can manage protection remotely. You have to connect that to the portal and create an account. I'm not going to do that right now. Your password manager, so you can download and install that. Data encryption, you can protect your data with AES 256 with a 56-bit effective key length. Backup and restore, so we covered that a minute ago. And then the web policy management is right here. All right. Now you also have some settings right now. You have reports right here. We'll just go into that real quick. So you can view your today's reports, last month reports, database updates, quick scans, rootkit scans, etc., and who has access to the web policy management. Okay, so if we go here to the settings, you can set up, all this is set by default, or if you forgot them, you can hit the default settings. It tells you right down here you have actually 30 days remaining in the trial. So by default, your protection application launches are protected. You can even set up password protection to access the application. That way you prevent any nefarious software from changing settings on your software without prompting for a password. Now the protection is pretty darn complete. You got your file antivirus, your web antivirus, application control. This is the biggie right here, folks. You know I am not a fan of the Microsoft Firewall. I don't turn it on by default because it's more trouble than it's worth. I do let Kaspersky turn on the firewall. This is a very intelligent firewall, and it knows what networks you're on, how to protect things, and it does it right out of the box, and I've had no problems at all. The only problem I had was on remote desktop. So your networks right here, this determines what is part of your internal and external networks. This is how Kaspersky determines what is allowed and what is not allowed to come through. Because I did have one problem with remote desktop, that I needed to enable remote desktop, because you see it's blocked by default on any inbound connections over TCP/IP. Where it's not blocked, if you come over to application rules, you'll see that it's got it tries to figure out what applications are trusted, what applications aren't, and it does a pretty darn good job of that. So you can either block by application or by packet rules. I have not found a need to modify any of these other than the remote desktop to turn that on, so I can get in from outside through the internet to that machine. And now it's not an issue because I use VPNs whenever I connect, so I've become part of that local network, so I don't even need to worry about this. So out of the box, Kaspersky works. Private browsing, webcam protection. It's very important if you have webcams on your units. Software update, anti-banner, so you can block banners in some of your stuff, in some of your websites and stuff. Yeah, network attack blocker, system watcher, instant messaging antivirus, mail antivirus. That's very important. I love that, and it has anti-spam capabilities. So right now it's not on, but if I were to turn it on, flip it on, and we'll go in and look at the settings and advanced. I don't know how effective this spam filter is, but if you don't have any other spam filter, you can use it. I've got it turned on right now on my account on my machine, so and I haven't had any issues with it blocking anything that I didn't want it to block. So I'm going to leave it turned on. By default, it's turned off. Your application manager, it helps to manage applications you have installed on the system. It goes out and it scans for all the applications you have, and it notifies you if there are any changes to those. And then your performance, you can tweak that. Your scan, what security level you want, what actions to take on threat detections, scan, schedule, advanced settings, etc. And then additional threats and exclusions, self-defense settings, network settings, notification, reports and quarantine, additional protection, appearance, etc. So I'm going to go back to the main screen here. Now I'm going to go ahead and initiate a scan just to show you. I'm going to go. They always recommend the first time you do this, you do a full scan after installing. So we're going to run a full scan on this, and you'll see our system resources will go up and down as that happens. I'm going to let that run, and we'll come back when it's done. Now this is a clean machine. I don't believe I have Office installed on here. No, I do not. The only thing on here is Windows 10, and so I have no applications on here. So we'll let the scan run, and we'll come back when that is complete. So here we go. Our scan completed. We had nothing was found. I hope. Let's see. Go to detailed report. Well, it says it's doing a rootkit scan. Okay. I thought, didn't it say it was complete? I don't know. Am I seeing things? But you can see the impact on the system now that a scan is completed is, negligible. Another thing I wanted to show you is we went over all these. We went over the settings. We went over reports. They've even got, if I click on support here, they have my license ID. Don't pay any attention to that. FAQ, configuration test, support tools, support forum, etc. But if we go to more tools, look at this. This is pretty cool. I really like this. This is similar to this. This tells me how much CPU, memory, and disk usage I have. In fact, let's minimize Task Manager, and I'll show you. If I click on details, it even goes and shows me what applications are running. So there's 72 managed applications, 72 trusted, no restricted. So if I go to manage, it even tells me what those applications are that are running and whether they're allowed or not. So with a flick of a switch, I could, if I had a program that was doing something really strange, I could turn that off and disallow it in a heartbeat. And then my allowed startup applications here, so my start menu, and then all the Microsoft goodies. Okay. If I go to show all activity, this tells me what applications are running, what trust group they're in, how much memory they're consuming. This is actually the Task Manager on steroids, right? And I didn't ask for it. I really did not. Let's see if I can even terminate a process just like I can with Task Manager. So why do I have you up? I don't know. I'm going to close you. Really nice having this application. I can look at a glance as a manager and see what's going on out there and what's running. I really like that. That's just under the application control. Now there's network monitor, so I can monitor my network activity as well. So I go out to details, and I can see what application, direction, open ports, how much traffic is going, and I can do this. So in an emergency, I can block all network activity to keep anything from coming through. And then this tells me the traffic that is going through and what process is using the bandwidth. So I can do it by received, or I can do it by sent. And down here it keeps a graph if I had any blocked computers here, or here's my open ports listing, etc. It's very detailed information. And then of course, if I had any reports, I could click on them right here. So under the reports, if I click on details, you can see my rootkit scan is still running. Gives me quite a bit of information in here. And then we have the software updater. So what this does is it goes, I'm going to go ahead and run the database update. It goes and it downloads a list of common software that people use out there and updates the database, and then it scans your computer for those applications. Not only does it do that, but it tells you any applications that are in need of updates. So if I had Adobe Acrobat out there, if I had Adobe Premiere, or if I had Foxit PDF Reader, it would go out there, it would search and tell me if my versions of my software are up to date. So we'll let this update run, and then we'll come back and we'll do a search and see if there's any applications out there that need to be updated. Alright, so it has updated the database. So if we do a search, it's going to go out and search if there are any applications out there that need updating. And of course it tells me no, they're all up to date. software cleaner. I can run that. It'll go out and analyze software that hasn't been used in X number of days, months, or weeks, and ask me if I want to keep that software around or if I want to uninstall it. Privacy protection. Webcam access is allowed. I could deny it with a click of a button. So if it was my kid's computer, first of all, I wouldn't have a webcam on their computer, but if I did, I could disable it if it was, say, built into their laptop or whatever. Privacy protection. Let's see, cloud protection, etc. It's connected. On-screen keyboard, your quarantine folder, your vulnerability scan. It can scan for updates that you're missing on your computer and let you know where you can go to get them. So not only will it check the operating system, but it's going to check the applications as well. And it's told me already I have 9 vulnerabilities in the operating system, so we'll see what it comes up with after it's done scanning. Alright, so the scan is finished. Let's bring this over here at the center of the screen. Found 9 vulnerabilities, and it tells me auto run from hardware from hard drives is enabled, auto run from network, auto run from CD, auto run from removable devices, etc., etc. And then you can create the all-important rescue disk. And you see it's changing the URL here, but it tells you how to use a rescue disk, and that can come in very handy if you get a piece of malware on the system. And then it says it's got 5 more, so I can do my browser configuration wizard. Does it for Internet Explorer. My privacy cleaner, so I can go out and clean up my web browsing history, my web caches, and that kind of thing. File shredder, so if I want to get a really thorough government DoD standard deletion on a file that was sensitive, I have that ability. Let's see, unused data cleaner, and then Windows troubleshooting, unused data cleaner. So I guess it'll go out and look for temporary files, that kind of thing. Yeah, the temp folder, temp system folder, prefetch cache, etc., etc. I'm not going to do that right now. But as you can see, and then once I minimize it, it's out of the way and it runs down here in the little tray. The other thing I really love, I'm going to switch over to the webcam again so you can see my beautiful face. The other thing I really like about Kaspersky is anytime, this is one thing, normally I tell my clients use Microsoft Antivirus and anti-malware, you'll be fine, it's included with Windows 10. But with business customers, one of the weaknesses I found in Microsoft is that anytime you insert a removable drive into a Windows machine, it doesn't prompt you to scan that drive. And I have a lot of clients that go back and forth with USB keys. I've got one client, they could go to 20, 30 different computers with this one USB key. And if one of those machines is infected, it gets onto the USB drive, comes back, and our entire network is infected. So one of the things Kaspersky does very well is anytime you plug in an external device or drive, it asks you if you want to scan it. And you could even tell it, scan it every time that a removable device is put in. That's very handy. That's a really good defense system for keeping you protected from viruses, etc. One thing I don't like is this. I don't like, all things considered, I just don't like these little icons that an antivirus software puts up there, because what it does in a corporate environment is it encourages a client to click on that, and then I start getting a million questions about it. And people think, oh yeah, it sounds good. I wanna do that. And it's fine if they read it, but really the end user is not the one who should be making the decision on whether or not to activate some of those features. Now, so I've told you what I like about Kaspersky. One, it's pretty fast. I used a prior version of Kaspersky last year when I was testing antivirus software for my customers. And I found one of the big shortcomings was it was really, really slow. One thing that a lot of people in IT like is a central console to manage everything from on the antivirus. And this gives you that. If you once you put a license in and you sign them up on the web thing, you can go in through a browser, and I can look at any one of those computers and tweak the antivirus settings on there. So what I'm doing this week is I'm rolling this product out to all my clients. It's a 30-day trial. So I've got probably about 100 computers to install this on. So I'm gonna push it out to about 100 PCs over the weekend, put it in place, and see what I find out there, and see how the client reacts to it. Because if it becomes too cumbersome or it gets in the way of what the client is trying to do, they get upset, they get angry. So I like to test it first before I commit to it. So for about 10 years, I've just dealt with Microsoft's antivirus and anti-malware, and knock on wood, as long as you teach your people good habits, like on email and things like that, it's not very often you have a virus infection or a malware infection, as long as people follow the rules. But as you know, that can be hit or miss. So just let me be clear here. I'm not being paid by Kaspersky to endorse this product or do a review of it. I've been looking at Kaspersky for years, and it's finally gotten to the point now where my clients need a little more protection than the Microsoft antivirus and anti-malware that's out there. And no, I don't mean to infer that Kaspersky is the ultimate solution, but out of all the ones I've been looking at, Trend Micro, McAfee, Norton, this one just installs and gets the hell out of the way, and it really doesn't slow down the computers like it has done in the past few years. So Kaspersky has really kind of listened to their end users, and they don't try to be all things to all people, even though this is kind of a soup to nuts solution. But I'm not being paid by Kaspersky to do this video or anything like that. There's no. I am endorsing it though, because I'm going to use it here in my business, and I'm going to start recommending my clients use it. It's inexpensive, it's effective, and it just gives you one little bit more peace of mind. If there's anything you can do to kind of prevent or deter these ransomware heists of these machines, you're really doing your customers a good service in that, and it can save your bacon. There's nothing worse than having to go to a client and say, hey, I didn't plan ahead, and I didn't tell you about this product. They can always come back and say, no, I don't want to spend the money, and then you have them sign that little indemnification on a piece of paper saying, hey, you were told, you didn't want to do it. So it indemnifies you or releases you from being responsible if they decide not to spend the money. So again, not a paid endorsement for Kaspersky, but I prefer to eat my own dog food, as they say. So this is something I'm going to be using on my network and my PCs in my office. So there you have it, Kaspersky Small Office Security. I like it. I really like the price. In fact, I'm going to buy it next month. After my 30-day trial is up, I only have about 5 workstations here and one server that I really need to protect, and I haven't put it on the server yet. I'll do a separate video on that when I install it, but for $112.49 for the first year, then $149 after, we're looking at $15 a month. That is money well spent, in my opinion. The home user software I haven't tried. I will try it on a virtual machine just to let you know what I think about it and how it works on for an individual. But with all this malware and ransomware going on, especially with WannaCry, and we got a new version of WannaCry coming out that they've fixed those vulnerabilities in the virus, in the malware itself. So you do need to take some protection, especially if you're like me and you're all over the internet. You're watching YouTube videos and you're downloading software to try and put it on your computer. You just, rather safe than sorry. You don't want to lose all your files. So, and backup. So anyway, I hope you found this video entertaining and informative. As always, give us a thumbs up down below if you liked it. If you didn't like it, give us a thumbs down and piss off. I'm just kidding. Leave your comments down below. Tell me some of your experiences with antivirus and anti-malware software. Malwarebytes is another good program as well, and it's they have a 30-day trial on that as well. So go down and download Kaspersky, give it a try, tell me what you think of it. And thanks again for watching, and we'll see you on the other side.